Hey guys, what is up? Hope you're having a fantastic day so far, and I am here with another Steven Universe review for What's Your Problem and also the question. So yesterday I wasn't able to upload, so I figured I would just put last night's episode and the episode that just aired tonight just in one video just to make it more convenient for you guys. I will have spoilers for both of these episodes, so if you haven't seen these episodes yet, click off this video, go watch them, come back here. And like with my previous review for We're Only Falling Apart, this is just gonna kind of be a more chill review. I'm not gonna really have a script, I just have some notes here. So with that, let's get into the reviews. So with What's Your Problem, the biggest thing about this was that it was a huge Amethyst episode. I'll kind of just go over basically what happens, but there's a note from Ruby, and so she has taken off, she's run away, so Sapphire's upset by this, obviously, and so we get this funny moment here of Pearl trying to comfort Sapphire, but ultimately just both of them end up crying, which I thought was really funny and just very in character for Pearl to start talking and then just break down, because Pearl's the character that's moaned the most for crying. But we see that Amethyst didn't stop Ruby from leaving. Amethyst was trying, just being Amethyst, basically playing video games. She's trying to get Steven in on it, and Steven's like, no, like, we should probably go find Ruby because Sapphire is having a breakdown right now. And basically from this point on, it really becomes a lot about Amethyst and Steven and their relationship, and specifically Amethyst and her character development. So they're going around looking for Ruby, and just like a little cool bit, I guess, regarding like gems and how they work and how they function. Gems can actually shapeshift down small enough where the physical gem itself can be supported by the physical body, as we see with Amethyst, like trying to get into this little like conch shell. So that's kind of cool, because we've never seen a gem try to shift into something like smaller than the gem itself. So that was really cool and interesting to see. But Steven and Amethyst go around looking for Ruby, and so Steven's like not stopping, trying to ask everybody, and Amethyst is like, it's cool that you want to help Ruby, but you got to think about yourself first, which I think is a really good piece of advice. I think sometimes we get so caught up in what we're trying to do. If we're trying to help somebody, even if it's for a good cause, that's not going to amount to anything if we don't take care of ourselves first. So this leads to Amethyst and Steven going to Fish Stew Pizza, and they have a talk about Pink Diamond and Rose Quartz and that whole situation. And so Amethyst asks, like, how do you feel? And Steven's like, well, I feel confused, but he's also relieved that his mom didn't actually shatter anyone, but she lied to everyone. And Steven even says that he's not surprised by that, which I think is very important, that he's not surprised by that, and it like acknowledges that Rose did make some very bad decisions, that she lied to people, that she kept things hidden from people. So I like that the show is acknowledging that, and that Steven's saying like, hey, you know what, based on what we've learned about my mom previously before this whole Pink Diamond thing, I'm not shocked by it. And so while they're talking, Amethyst is clearly getting more upset. She's saying this is everyone else's problem. And Steven can kind of see that, Amethyst is taking this harder than he is at that moment. And then Jenny comes in, and they overhear her talking to Kiki, and they figure out that Ruby is with Greg. So they go out, and Amethyst tries to take care of this herself. She tries to do this without Steven, and she says no more adults should be putting this on you. And so Amethyst tries to fix everything herself. She's on the helicopter and she tries to get away. But Steven, obviously being Steven, isn't going to just let her run away. So they end up on the beach and they start talking about, everything about Rose. And so Amethyst is saying, I don't want to be stuck in the past. We're not responsible for what Rose did. None of us are. And this includes Garnet, this includes Pearl. But they're the ones that are going to have to deal with it. And that's the big motivator for Amethyst in this episode, is that she doesn't want to dump another problem onto Steven, because she acknowledges that Steven has to deal with all of this the most out of anybody, because he now has Pink Diamond's Rose Quartz's gem, and it's going to fall on him. And so Amethyst says, I don't want to dump another 1,000-year problem onto you. And so this is kind of the moment after they talk that Steven realizes Amethyst was trying to cheer him up the whole time. That's why she was initially like, hey, play video games with me. Like, hey, let's go out for some pizza. She was trying to make him feel better because she felt, based on how she was feeling, that Steven was going to be upset about this. And, he is upset, but at the same time, he's come to expect it. And it makes sense because he's the one who has his mother's gem. So I think he's always felt some sort of guilt in a way, the more he's discovered about his mother. But it's kind of almost like thickened his skin a little bit to the stuff he finds out about his mother as well. He's come to expect it now. But, once Steven and Amethyst kind of have this moment, they're just sitting on the beach and, Steven's like, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think you're officially the most mature crystal gem. And this is huge because, it's so true. Because Amethyst, out of Garnet, Pearl, Ruby, Sapphire, Amethyst is the one who acknowledges the most that Steven shouldn't have to deal with this, that none of them should have to deal with this. I think Pearl and Garnet are kind of like more the ones who are just like, well, we have to now this is our responsibility, and they just kind of take it, which I guess is kind of almost seen as the more mature thing to do. But in actuality, it's not. They're cleaning up somebody else's mess, and that shouldn't have to fall onto them. And Amethyst is the one that acknowledges that and says that Steven shouldn't have to do that. I think it was a very just huge moment for Amethyst, seeing where she started, like episode 1 or like the first couple episodes, and where she is now. It's pretty amazing that Amethyst has come this far and that she is kind of like the most mature crystal gem. Just overall, it was just a really awesome episode for Amethyst, but this leads into Amethyst and Steven both going off to find Ruby. They know where Ruby is, and she's with Greg. So this leads directly into the episode, The Question. Now, the first thing that I want to note off here is that we had a new title card, which was pretty cool. It's like Twilight time, I guess. It's the more purpley bluish kind of one. I really liked it. I thought it looked awesome. So I was really happy to see that we got a new title card here, but it starts off immediately after What's Your Problem, as I said before. And so one thing that I wish we kind of gotten a little bit more time spent on, or just at least to like see it, is that we find out that Ruby told Greg that rose quartz was actually pink diamond. Like, I feel like we missed something here. Like, I feel like that was a big missed opportunity because I would have liked to see what Greg's reaction would have been. And, like, the fact that it came from, like, Ruby and not, like, Steven or Pearl, I don't know. It was kind of odd, I guess. But I do like what Greg said about this. And he's like, I fell in love with rose quartz and not pink diamond. And she fell in love with Greg Universe, So, I mean, I never told her that I was Greg DeMeo, so he's kind of like, who am I to judge on that? I'm not sure if he knows about the whole war thing and just all that entails, but we'll see, because I do feel like this is going to be talked about more in the future. But from here we kind of transition into Ruby. This is a very heavy Ruby centered episode. And so Ruby is saying, this is the first time that I'm thinking about me. Before, I was always just with other Rubies, and I would just fuse to make a bigger Ruby. And then after that, I would, was with Sapphire, and then we just fused, and we were always Garnet. So she's like, this is the first time that I'm thinking about me, and that I can be on my own. And so Steven starts to realize, this means that Garnet may not be a thing in the future now, which is kind of scary to him. And Greg and Amethyst are a little bit more accepting of Ruby wanting to be on her own. I think they would both obviously miss Garnet, but like, if Ruby didn't want to be in a relationship with Sapphire, then you can't force her to do that. But Steven kind of slowly is just like, okay, this might be good for Ruby. I'm gonna support her in her emotional growth. And so this goes to Ruby being a cowboy. And this is actually alluded to in the previous episode, What's Your Problem? Because Sapphire tries to, like, see into the future about where Ruby could be, and she just goes, why is Ruby a cowboy? So we see why Ruby is a cowboy, because she looks at Steven's comics, and she's like, you know what, I want to be like this. I want to make my own choices and discover things for myself. And so she goes off being a cowboy, and we get a new song, and I think it's called Ruby Rider, based on the lyrics. I'll talk a little bit about this song, because I think it's weird that we had a song here, I guess. But just on, like, kind of side note, Ruby can play guitar, and Greg even makes, like, a joke about it, that he taught Ruby how to play guitar like 10 minutes ago, and she's already just, making a song up on the fly. And Steven kind of acknowledges that he's never seen Ruby this happy before. And then after the song's over, Steven's like, you know what, I see that you're happy now. And, he's like, I'm sorry that I tried to force you back into making Garnet. And then Ruby says, all that stuff I sang about isn't true. I was just like, well, what was the point of having the song then, kind of? Because songs should, at least in my opinion, songs should kind of push a character's development or push the story forward if you're having a song. Like, songs to me should do something, at least the way songs are set up in Steven Universe for the most part. They have some sort of importance to the story. And for this song to happen, and then for literally like 1 minute later, just for Ruby to be like, oh no, all that stuff I sang about wasn't true. There really wasn't a point to it. It's almost like you wanted to have just a kind of like a Western sounding cowboy song in there. And I mean, I don't think the song was bad or anything like that, but I wish the song wouldn't have happened. And like literally 1 minute later, just be like, oh yeah, no, that song meant nothing, essentially. It's just like, oh, okay, like, we could have done something more with that. But Ruby does acknowledge that she did have fun, so it's, like, not necessarily that the stuff she's saying about wasn't true, it's just that she was thinking about Sapphire the entire time. And so this kind of gets Steven and Ruby talking now about where does Ruby go from here. And so Steven talks to Ruby about, this character, that she saw in the comic book, that he makes his own decisions, he blazes his own trails, but he still has somebody that he cares about and thinks about and loves, which is like Ruby's situation right now with Sapphire, because before Ruby felt like she never could make her own decisions. It was always like what Sapphire wanted to do or what they wanted to do together as Garnet. She never thought for herself. And so Ruby feels like she's in this position, well, it's I'm either on my own and I make my own decisions, or I'm with Sapphire and I don't. But Steven's saying, you can meet halfway. You can still be with Sapphire but make your own decisions. And so Ruby comes to the decisions like, okay, if I am going to make my own decisions, I want, my first one to decide on being with Sapphire. So Ruby and Steven and Amethyst Greg, they all go back to Steven's house, and Sapphire is there with Pearl, and so Steven goes in to get Sapphire, and she runs out onto the deck of Steven's house and sees that Ruby is there on Amethyst, of course. Oh yeah, and Amethyst is a horse this entire time, by the way. And so Sapphire runs to apologize to Ruby. And it kind of starts out with Ruby seeming like she's not going to really forgive Sapphire, or just like that she wants to remain alone. But then we get the huge moment here where Ruby actually proposes to Sapphire, hence the episode title, The Question. And what this signifies is that Ruby wants to be with Sapphire on her own terms. She doesn't want to be with Sapphire because Rose told her that Ruby and Sapphire fused together as Garnet is the answer. That's why they should be together. They want it to be on their own terms. And so, Ruby even says, being Garnet will be our decision. And I think that's so powerful, and that's so just, I was watching this and I was just so happy that one, there was like representation of this about two female characters, getting married, essentially. They're married. They were always a couple together, but for this moment, it's because they wanted to get married. They wanted to be together. It wasn't because somebody told them to. And, they loved each other, obviously, even back in The Answer. But it's like this moment was just so huge for them, and just like, it's just, God, I love this moment so much. Like, these past couple Steven Universe episodes, like, can't go back to, like, now have just all been just knockouts. Like, I feel that the Crooniverse is back on track for what they wanted to do with these episodes, and it's just been so great to have Steven Universe back, and just to have moments like this. And just another thing about this moment, we have a remix of the song The Answer from the episode The Answer here when Ruby proposes, which also just makes it that much better. And I find it interesting to see how much we are going back to the episode The Answer. In the previous episode, Now We're Only Falling Apart, we went back to The Answer. We saw like the contrast between Rose and Pearl, what was going on during that episode, and then leading up to the moment in The Answer where we see that scene play out again, where we see Garnet and Rose and Pearl talk, and where Rose initially says, "You already are the answer." And now we're at the question, and we go back to The Answer again with like the song, and just this moment of Ruby and Sapphire deciding to fuse for them because it's based on their decision and not based on what Rose said. So I looking back, it's like I didn't think that we'd be going back to The Answer and it'd be like applying so heavily now in the future, and like we would be revisiting this episode, like given now that we have like pink diamonds. Like, if you would have said like, oh yeah, The Answer, we're gonna be going back to this episode after we reveal out like the true identity of Pink Diamond, I'd be like, why won't we be like on Homeworld by then? Won't we be like talking about like White Diamond and stuff like that? But just I thought this episode was so cute, so adorable. I love the title. It started out and you're just like, oh, Ruby's a cowboy, and it ends with Ruby asking Sapphire to marry her. Just really cute stuff, just adorable, but just it was a huge moment for Ruby and Sapphire. I know this was a very Ruby heavy episode, but like Sapphire feel developed too, because she understood where Ruby was coming from with wanting to make this decision for themselves. So just overall, really great episode, both What's Your Problem and the question. Let me know what you guys thought of both these episodes in the comments below, because I would love to hear it. But thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more Steven Universe related content. And until next time, guys, take care.